Hey friends, Alvin here. We are continuing on with our interview series, and today I am pleased to be joined by Mike Wong, who is the English Ministries youth pastor at Logos Baptist Church in Milliken. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Mike.
Hey guys, what's up?
And so, as we're having this conversation for the next few minutes, the first question I've been asking everyone is this: right now, since March break, what have you noticed change in your youth so far?
I would say two things have changed in our youth. The first one is there's a lot more free time for some of them, especially the junior highs. They're saying they're just getting really bored because I guess they're online learning. They're not getting that much homework. So I think that's one change is, there's a lot more free time. The other one is we're not able to do the face-to-face. We're not able to meet in person. So a huge change has just been shifting all of our youth ministry initiatives to online. And yeah, that's been a bit of a learning curve. But those are the two big things that have been going on specifically for us when we talk about what's been going on in our youth ministry.
And so, as you're saying that they've got a lot more time now, are they finding things to fill their time? Are parents expecting you to fill that time? How does that look?
For a lot of them, their time honestly is being filled up with Netflix, Disney Plus, K dramas, video game, Call of Duty, Warzone's pretty popular these days, kind of overtaking Fortnite in terms of our junior highs and high school students. But some of them have actually been pretty good in terms of wanting to go and grow and enrich themselves. A lot of them are taking up new hobbies such as baking, cooking. Others have decided to be challenged to, go and read more of the scriptures, spend more time in devos and personal growth. Others have gone and tried to learn more instruments too. So it's really cool because we have this one worship leader, and she's primarily a vocalist, but she's having a little bit more free time right now, so she's branching off into playing piano. And a few weeks ago, she actually helped us to lead vocally as well as playing piano at the same time. So I think for the majority of our students, they're making the use of the time. In terms of parents, I think a lot of times for us, we realize, with online learning and other things that they might have too, such as Kumon or things such as other tutoring programs, we don't want to touch their time too much. But the parents and the students know we're always here if they want to reach out, if they want to talk, if they want to go and connect with us at any time.
So then, with a lot of these adjustments happening, how have you felt this impact your role as a youth pastor there?
I think it's shown a lot more in terms of it's not about the program leading anymore. It's more about the one-on-one personal connection. So one of the things that we're really passionate about at Logos is disciple making. We've been focusing upon what it means to be a disciple making church now for the past 4 years. And I feel that right now, because of the suspension of in-person church activities, a lot of our time is being spent with connecting with students in smaller groups. So either one-on-one of the guys, texting them, hey, how are things this week? Are you free to chat sometime? Maybe chatting for 15 minutes, seeing how they are, praying for them, as well as doing that in smaller groups of, maybe 3 students or so. So instead, before it was more about planning for the big programs. As a big youth fellowship now, it's more being intentional with students one-on-one and in smaller groups. So I think that's one thing which has been a little bit of a paradigm shift for us, but it's something which we've been doing ongoing, meeting with students, but now we find it's a lot more easier to do so just because everyone is a little bit more free. I think now sounds like school is going to be canceled all the way until September. This summer it's probably going to be prime time. No one's really able to go anywhere, no vacation time. So I'm looking forward to, those times to connect with students and to continue to invest in their lives.
So through some of those conversations right now, what are some key questions, key issues that they're bringing up?
I think talking to the majority of the students, I think 2 things are coming up. The first one is they're worried about their parents who have to work. So some of our kids' parents, they're either working in different industries that require them to go work. Some of them don't have the option to work from home. So there's a lot of, I guess, anxiety and worries about their parents going out to earn a living. Another thing too is financially too. I know some of our kids are in families which the economic slowdown's not helping matters at all. So I think those are two big things that are kind of on the, I guess, worries or anxiety in terms of our youth.
So as you've been readjusting, as everything at Logos sounds like it's been readjusting, can you give me an example of what's been maybe what you would call a story of success so far?
One thing that's been really cool is normally when we do kind of more one-on-one or smaller group disciple making, it usually happens in our high school fellowship. But one thing that's been really cool is our junior highs, our grade 7 8s. Um, the guys, they're open to it just because they have this time right now that they can do. So we're actually setting up two kind of Bible reading groups, what I like to call them Bible reading groups. And we're going through the book of Luke, and we're probably going to be transitioning to Acts. But one of the key things we want to do is talk about who is Jesus to them through the Gospels. And I think that's been one story of success. Like if this was pre-COVID-19, there's no way we would have this opportunity to kind of journey along with students. Um, so that's just been one huge success story for us. I think another thing that's been really cool is just seeing how a lot of teens, they want to go and make a difference. I think for them, they see what's going on in the news, so they want to write encouragement cards to the food bank. They want to go and write encouragement cards and help people who are first responders, healthcare essential workers. And our junior high fellowship, we're actually partnering with kind of doing a food drive right now, where students are encouraged to go and pick up different items at their house, or if their parents are going out to shop, just to ask like, hey, can you buy few extra cans of tomato sauce and pasta at our non-perishables? And that's one thing that I'm just excited for. That they have a heart for the needs that they see, and they want to go and do something about it. So I think that's just really showing the opportunities that God's opening up to as a church, and especially as a youth ministry right now.
Now that is pretty cool that they're taking some initiative and like you said, seeing where some of these are community and they're actually taking steps to respond to that. That is great to hear. And so on the flip side of that, then, what have been some growing pains, struggles, something that maybe hasn't gone exactly the way you thought it might?
We tried doing a online worship using Zoom, but we were streaming YouTube videos, and yeah, that failed miserably just because there's a lot of lag when you're streaming videos through Zoom. So I think it's a lot of adjustment to the platforms that work in terms of technology and in terms of utilizing Zoom or Discord or Google Meets or whatever platforms the teens are using. That was kind of a big learning curve, what's capable and what's not capable. I think another big thing that is a struggle is I think there's a sense of some students are not as connected now just because we're not meeting face to face. So when they're meeting online, it's a little bit harder for them to feel connected. So there are times when students might not be logging in consistently to fellowship, or they might not be meeting in our Sunday school or our Saturday school that we're doing. So I think that's been two of our challenges, adapting to the technology as well as getting that engagement too in a virtual world. So
As you were mentioning in the first part of your answer, you've been testing, been trying out different platforms. Can you give us an idea of what has seemed to work better now? What kind of platforms would you use in certain circumstances?
I find for high schoolers, they love using Discord because many of them had Discord accounts, and we're chatting on that before. So for us, it's using whatever platform the teens are using. For our junior highs, we find Zoom works, especially since like our church is using Zoom for many of our fellowship meetings, so their parents are comfortable using Zoom. But I think it's just Zoom and Discord are our primary ways. If it's more like a one-on-one conversation, if a student has Facebook, we'll use Facebook Messenger just to kind of talk and have a video chat before. We were using Facebook Messenger quite a bit too for our internal high school communications with our small group leaders to prep for Bible studies and to talk as student leadership team. But there's a sense that Facebook Messenger was the way to go. But now we're kind of migrating more into using Discord now as an overall fellowship right now.
So right now, when you're talking about the junior highs and using Zoom, you were mentioning how some parents feel a comfort level there. So right now, what has been the parental response to how youth ministry has evolved through all this?
I think from talking to parents, it's funny. I was chatting with a student online, and then I guess his mom was at home, and his mom actually kind of hogged the camera for a little bit and just had a chance to say thank you, for connecting with the student, for praying with them. I think at its core, we partner with the parents to go and minister to the teens, and I think we're always here as a resource. We're here as partners. We're here as a support for parents. So I think in terms of connectedness, I mean, it's not ideal. I think we would always say in person is always better, but in the event that we can't do in person, I think the parents are just grateful that we have options for their students to connect with us, and they know that we're always present and around too. So
Earlier on, you were talking about how you see this paradigm shift happening at Logos's youth ministry. What are some things that you might not be able to forecast per se, but what are some things that you think you might be taking or keeping in the long term?
I think one of the things for us is we're a relatively big church. I think for CBOQ standards, we're about, I think, over 800 people. So I feel we're probably going to be one of the last churches to reopen. And I don't think there is going back to, how things used to be. So I think one thing going forward is we'll probably actually be doing a lot more virtual communications with the students. I don't know if this means, maybe we'll meet up for fellowship in person, maybe twice a month. The other time it's going to be online. I don't know. It's hard to chart that. But one of the things that I feel is, especially with disciple making and disciple making groups and disciple making teens, these connections that we have now, because they have that free time, that's something which is ripe to be grown and enhanced once we're able to meet back in person. And I think that's one thing that is really hitting home is that, we need to seek and utilize these opportunities that are given to us. And the teens who are part of these groups, we're meeting virtually every 2 weeks, but maybe once COVID is done, once there is a new normal, saying, hey, you know what, we've been meeting online, maybe let's meet for pizza one night or something before fellowship or something like that. So that's my hope. I think another thing which I feel it's going to happen too is our services are being streamed online. I think even when we still go back to our Sunday mornings, once we're allowed to reopen, I still feel we're going to have to provide that option, just for people who may feel uncomfortable gathering in an 800 person church on a Sunday morning. So I think that's one thing which has been really big for us, that we got to look and see and utilize what situations we're in right now. So
This may not necessarily pertain to ministry specific. It could be other parts of your life, but what's something over the last few weeks that you've learned, maybe a certain insight or something else that you've taken on?
I think for me, one thing that I've learned in the past few weeks of this COVID-19 situation is I kind of see the parental side of it now too. So my daughter, she's 17 months right now. She was supposed to start daycare a few weeks ago, and my wife's back at work full time. So we have a 17-month running around the house, creating ruckus, chasing down a cat and all that fun stuff. But I think it's given me a greater sense to what a lot of parents are going through in a way. They have to, maybe one of them has to look after the teens, or one of them has to always be around while the other one's working. So I think that's something which God has kind of shown me is, I guess before I'd always look at it from a student perspective, but now I'm getting a greater appreciation of what it means to minister in this situation from a parental perspective. So I think that's one thing that I'm thankful that God's really been showing me. Another thing, an insight that I've been I've been getting is maybe this is a sign for us as a church that maybe it's not about the building, maybe it's not about the programs, maybe it's not about this big gathering, but maybe it's about pockets of community. So I've been kind of just thinking and talking with my senior pastor, Reverend George, as we just talk and dialogue, kind of about some ideas of what church can look like going forward, and how this is really growing and enhancing our community as a broader English ministry congregation. And I'm thankful for that. I think there's a lot of richness there. As he talks to other people, I talk to other people, we kind of come and mix ideas around, and just seeing what church can look like, and how, community as a whole happens outside of Sunday mornings, and happens outside of Friday nights. So I think that's one thing that I've been kind of getting insight to as well.
No, it's real encouraging to hear. And so, as we're about to wrap up this interview, what's one final word of encouragement, word of wisdom that you might have for those who are listening right now?
I think one big word of encouragement is, God is bigger than COVID-19. God is supreme over COVID-19. Things may seem tough, but I think we need to look for opportunities in everything. And I think when we are kind of looking at it through a sense of, where's the opportunities? Let's be entrepreneurial. Let's make things happen. I sense there's a beauty and a richness now, because it's opening up the doors to do youth ministry, mentoring, disciple making at a younger age, because students have the time now in junior high. It's opened up opportunities for us to explore avenues of connecting with people who we normally wouldn't. So I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I can't wait until church to go back to new normal," or I miss how things were done in the past. But I think we need to look at it. It's like saying, hey, God's given us this rich opportunity. One thing that I want to encourage people to do too is, when we are hosting our services online, when anyone can join us virtually, this is something that, our pastoral team and my senior pastor talks a lot about is, where we have like an open house 24/7. But I think the key to remember is people who normally would not come to church are coming to our church. Because if you think about it, on a Sunday morning, it's so much effort for a person to come to church, to worship with us. But now, a person who's interested in checking out Jesus, interested in checking out your church, they can just go on Sunday mornings or anytime, if, depending how your streaming works. They can be in their bedroom, they can be in their living room, they could be in their washroom and watching and experiencing, your worship. So I think, this is opening up a lot of opportunities to connect with the broader world. And to me, that's something that I'm just super excited for. And I just want to encourage, people who are watching, if you're in ministry, if you're not, if you're a lay leader, or if you're a parent, if you're a student, COVID-19, it sucks at times, but I think, God's opening up a lot of amazing opportunities. So continue to search for those opportunities and continue to do what, he's leading us to do. I think one thing that's been really cool for this time is the fact that a lot of our youth and our young adults are inviting their friends, especially non-Christian friends, to come watch our streams. And I think it's this idea that, our church is open 24/7. It's an open house. And what's really cool is, these teens and these young adults, they're actually talking with their friends about what they see. So it's either myself or Reverend George speaking. They'll just continue to talk during the week and be like, hey, you saw this service, what did you think? So this is really amazing, because normally these people would never have anything to do with church. They would never want to come check us out. But because now it's so accessible, it's online, it's such an amazing opportunity. So that's just one thing that, I'm thankful to God for right now in this COVID-19 situation.
I think that's a great reminder for all of us. I like that analogy used of an open house, right? And that people can now access whenever they want, and so that's definitely something for us to keep in mind. Mike, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your different thoughts and also your insights, and glad that you were able to spend this time with us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alvin. And you and your family and the broader CBOQ youth ministry team, thank you guys so much for the ways you guys support us. We really love the fact that, we're part of a bigger community called CBOQ. And thank you guys for what you guys do. So really appreciate it.